Good day, students. My name is Petrus Kewowo, and I am your tutor for visual arts. I'm going to take you through the PowerPoint presentation that is specifically put together and organized and prepared for you and to help you when you are studying, and also when you are working on your assignments, and when you are preparing for your exams, all your assessment tools for 2022. Make use of it. It's put together and compiled from your study guides, whether you are using a Kindle or whether you are using a hard copy. So the information in the presentation, it's just short version of what is covered in your whole book. Therefore, I encourage you that whenever you are using the presentation, make sure that you are in position with your books, and for any information that you perhaps not satisfied with in the presentation, you are able to quickly go into your book, scan through, find the information, and get the details of what is in the book. On this specific second slide, there is what is called tutor details, and it reads name and surname, that is Petrus N. Kewowo, that is my name. Contact details, my cell phone number is there, +264, that is code 81338370. That phone have got no restrictions as long as you are studying. As long as you are in position with your book, that is when you can text, or that is when you can call, and we will take it from there. Email address, also pkewowo@gmail.com. That is the correct email address. It's always open, and you can also contact me through that email address, as long as you are specific and you are straight to the point with your inquiries. But I always refer you to using the cell phone number, because that is the one that it's always on me, and I can easily get my hand on or hear the message when it's coming in. Please use it whenever you are studying, and do not hesitate to call or text me when you are having difficulties with your subject of visual arts. Now, from the first module in your book, we are talking about the aims of art education in school. So what are the aims of art education? What are the objectives? Why learners as young as they are indicated in your book is important for them to do arts, and what is it that we want to achieve with that art education for early childhood development. In italic there, it's mentioned or written that learners must do art to be able to express themselves, what they are feeling, to be able to communicate through their artworks. Maybe some are introvert, they don't talk too much, they are shy. Through their artworks, they are able to communicate, and also to create order. Whenever you are creating an artwork, whether it's a young child or an adult, there is always order, and the image and the contents used must always be in place. So with a child, the aim of education or art education in young children, it's to express, or to help learners to be able to express, to be able to communicate, and also to create order. Also, art is defined here that it's a form and also a content. Why is art a form? We say art is a form because the artist uses specific mediums. There's materials, that is pencils, paints, or it's clay, or it's paper mache, and to be able to create a specific art form. That's why art is a form, and it's also a content, because it's a form that carries a content. It carries a message. So meaning that this, the artwork it's always meant to address or to express a specific message. And also that through art, art is always guided by inspirations to say where do you draw the energy from, what makes you do the art that you do. And they say that the inspiration of all the products comes from the environment which the artists lives in. We always paint, we always draw, we always sing. If it's in the singing area, we hardly talk about things that we don't know. Rather what we observe or what we went through ourselves or anything else that is affecting the community that we are living in and our neighborhoods. Visual arts, that is now, art have got many different disciplines. There is art of drama, there is art of music, and here we are referring to the art of visual art. That is the art of painting, drawing, sculpting. You list on the list, it's endless. That when an artist uses medias, materials, image, signs, and symbols, and the available technology to communicate about self-expression or the world as a narrative of propaganda, promotions, illusions, imaginations, and teaching, all prediction. But all in all, what is important is to know that art of visual, we refer to the art of painting, where the artist is able to use materials, pencils, crayons, paints, charcoal, bronze for sculptors, paper mache, collage, printmaking. It's a lot, many different mediums that can be used to create visual arts. Art education, that specific subject of art education, the argument is that the subject of art falls within the aesthetic area of learning and has definite thematic link with the other subjects. Aesthetic, that is the other word for beauty. That is to say art falls under or within the area of beauty. Aesthetic is another word for beauty. Let's know that. And always argue that whenever you are teaching art, it should link, or it always links to themes within other subjects. Say that you cannot teach art in isolation. That means that the art project for a week must have links with the theme of the week. If your theme is to do with environment, that means if you are going to have art activities linked to that theme, the activities has to do with or talk about things in the environment. So what area of the environment are you tackling? That is what it means to say art should always be linked to a specific theme that you are teaching. If it's about houses, if that is their theme, so make sure that if you are going to give learners some art activities there, it should be linked to their houses. What happens in the house, who is in the house, who owns the house, what, and so on and so on. So when the theme is housing, you might construct a box building or any relevant project that links to housing. That means here you are given an example that you can collect boxes. Learners bring boxes from home. Some you can go out as a teacher and collect some. Student comes and sort them out. They use the most safe tools to cut and glue to paste while they are constructing their houses, and you guide them as long as you give them what you are looking for. Now, in art education, as we mentioned, that it includes different areas. However, the subject that we are doing here, we are only concentrating on visual arts. That's why art education includes visual arts, includes music, it includes drama, it includes the dance, and also includes the activities that a specific lecturer or art teacher have to go through in order to, or the community at large, to appreciate art. Visual art, that is when learners are able to express themselves through drawing and pattern making. The learners use lines, patterns, colors, shapes, and texture. That is actually a combination of the elements of art as well as the principles of art. Music, that is when the learner is able to express themselves through singing and also playing instruments. Music is about singing and it's also about playing instruments. That includes now the durations, that is time, the beats, the rhythm, and so on. Art of dancing, that is when the learner is able to express and present what they observe, think, imagine, and feel through music. You know, dancing is about moving to a specific rhythm. If it's a song that is played to you or that is playing in the background, the response to the music, that specific movement you do as a response to that music, it's what is called dancing. Drama, learners are expressing themselves and present what they observe, think, imagine through pretending. Remember, with dance, they do that through movement. And in drama, they do that with pretend play. When you are watching those cartoons, when you are watching those telenovelas, those are plays, those are dramas. You just need to look at what, when they are watching those Sophie in London, those Mr. Beans, those, what? SpongeBob and others, those are drama activities. So as an individual, learners, they say the argument is that it's when they are expressing themselves through role playing, meaning that pretending to be someone else that they are not in a specific play, maybe a character where they have to play as teachers or nurses or doctors or drivers, and you see actually children's always playing these plays in our houses when you get them those dolls and also the art of appreciating art. Learners evaluate and appreciate all form of arts. This is just to say, if you have got learners in group, each and every learner is working on their own project based on the activity that you gave them. Learners must be able to walk around, or if they are going to present what each and every learner have done, they must be able to look at that work. They must be able to make comments about that work. They must be able to tell what they like about the work, and they must be able also to appreciate the work that is done by other students. And as a teacher, you are responsible actually to guide and pave learners through that specific path. The value of visual art education, why is it important? What does it contribute in a learner? Why should we teach it? What value does it have? And the argument that the general goal is to enrich the round development of a learner through his or her creative work, development of his artistic aptitudes and abilities, when development of love, respect, and sensibility toward creative and artistic expression. So the most important thing here is that the value that art education carries is that it gives and it also activates the learner's creative ability. And through creativity, a learner is able to express her or himself through the creative works that they are putting together. So it's very important that our learners went through or go through art, because it gives them an opportunity to be creative, to be innovative, and to be able to express themselves and what they are going through. Therefore, visual art education helps arts to develop a positive attitude toward visual arts, and will also to express themselves through artistic activities, improve coordination of kinetic energy. Remember, can you imagine when a child is working with clay? Clay, it's something that involves much of hand craftsmanship. It involves passion, and it also requires concentration. So there's a specific different areas of development in a child that are being developed when a child is going through this or through art activities, and each and every activity actually develops a specific area of growth in a child. So what is listed here is the benefits of visual art education, and please read further in your book. Wherever you see in the book on the presentation it says etc etc and there's dots, that means actually there's more information to that, and you must find that information in your book. Whenever you are doing your art assignments, you don't use etc etc in your assignments. In your assignments you tell it all and you end your sentence where the information ends and you put a full stop there. Don't use etc etc, because in your assessment work etc etc have got no meaning there. Aims in art education. According to our new syllabus, art education strives to enable learners to contribute to the development of culture in Namibia, promote wider intercultural understanding, promote cultural awareness and appreciation, it fosters discipline, and also responsibility and cooperation, again, etc., etc. That means find it the more information in your study guide and study. But here is that through doing art in a class, you have got learners from different backgrounds. And if your activity it's about culture, you will learn that each and every child will be doing items from the cultural backgrounds where they are coming from. And when you have got a diversity class, actually learners among themselves, they are able to identify and learn and be aware of where others are coming from and how they differ in their cultural practices, whether it's in building houses, whether it's in eating the food they eat, whether it's the dressing codes that they dress, whether it's the type of pets that they keep. Actually, through specific art activities, learners are able to identify and also be aware of each other's cultural beyond where and what they only know. Art education also includes some general aims, and there is a list that is going on there, that art stimulates creativity, art develops self-expression, art also develops hand-eye training. That is to say that if a child is drawing, looking from a picture, perhaps you put a picture there, or you put a potato there, or an apple there, and you give a child a pencil and a sheet of paper where they must draw. That means a child needs to observe how the apple or the potato looks like, and that image, how they view it, is what they should now use their hands to be able and draw what they are seeing. Can you see that transaction from the eye to the hand? That is in general what it means by hand-eye training. You being able to do or imitate or copy and write down what you are observing or draw what you are doing. Considered to be useful training ground in acquisition of motto and also the completion of set task, all useful the future education. Also art and culture. Through art education we recognize culture in schools and identify and the identity of the learner or the young learner linked with his or her culture. I think that is just what we have interpreted earlier. Now there are some theories. That means some individuals did the research and they were trying to look on how or what it takes for a child to develop when it comes to drawing. So there are some theory that are put together that recommends that at least a child between 4 and 8 is able to draw like this. I mean 2 and 4 is able to draw like this. to this extent, this type of image, 4 to 6, this type of image, and so on and so on. And that is what is explained under Kalin's theory there. Please, and the Fredericks, there are two theorists that are, their works are somehow similar or complementing each other, although there are some that went a little bit ahead. But it's very important that you read those theories and understand the stages of development of children when it comes to drawing. Now here are the stages. This one is now based on Piaget's theory of development. You have got some specific stages there. Stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is from scribbling. That is between 2 and 4 to 13 and 16. That is the decision stage. So you need to understand, to read and understand how do they draw, what type of drawings or what type of drawing can you expect from a child that is between 2 and 4 years old. What type of image can you expect there? That's why you say that at 2, you give them a pen, the whole space is just some lines that are uncoordinated, but to them, those drawings means something. So there's also illustrations in your book. Please take your book and refer to those drawings. Also, based on those theories, this is about when you are describing a learner's artwork, that sometimes learners, when they are drawing, they leave clues. There are some hidden stories in their artworks. And how do they do that? Sometimes it's based on the size of the object that they are drawing, the color that they use there, the metaphor or the symbolic kind of whatever that they draw about. It carries a specific message. Once you see the child maybe is using too much of red, or maybe the child is using too much of black, and you are able actually to determine and figure out that maybe the child is going through sad moments or happy moments or something, but they always draw or leave message within their artworks. So symbolism of colors, that colors by default, when somebody puts on black, in most cases you are associated with funerals. For some, black is energy. For some, can just say black is beautiful and it suits every occasion. If you put on red, then you think of Valentine's, love, and so on. Also war in some areas, and. So, but here you learn that the colors actually, depending or despite the general association that we put or associate the colors with, just because somebody is putting on a specific color. Yellow, it's jealousy, and so on. So there are also more to it. There is psychological effects, there is emotional effects, and so on those colors. So you just need to learn and see the differences. That when we talk about emotional effects of color, that is actual emotion, the effect of specific color, and. The principles and the styles of art, we said there are two. What we need to know here is that there are two areas of producing an artwork. First and foremost, before anything else, the moment you take a pen or a pencil or a paint, make a mark on a surface, you are already drawing a line. Once you close that line, it becomes a shape or a form of something. And again, if it's a blue or red color that you used, color is already in there. The moment you add some, so those are the elements of art. The pillars of art that makes art exist. You have to make a mark on paper. You start with line, forms, textiles, colors, and space, value, or tone. Those are elements of art. However, there is also principle of art. That is now the rules that are applied to the elements of art to create the depth and also to bring the artwork out. That is when you start you start shading, when you start placing your contents in the artworks in order, which one is in the foreground, the mid ground, at the background. Those are the principles of arts. There are a lot of them and they are listed here, and they include the balance, contrast of colors, dominance, which one is more bigger than what type of objects are dominating the artworks, proportions, patterns, and so on and so on. You need to read these specific elements of art and their functions in the artwork. If it's a line, what is the function of line in the artwork? If it's patterns, what is the function of patterns in an artwork? And first, know what does pattern means. The styles of arts, this one is the schools of art, the movements of art. Art have got a specific history. And there's always been groups of artists who are working under a specific movement, meaning that artists who are working under a specific technique of art and also addressing specific issues. And those groups are the ones that are now known as styles of art. And then we have got the realism or photorealism here. We have got realism, we have got painting, we have got impressionism, we have expressionism, and abstract, and so on. So this is just to say what type of art. If you look at abstraction, the artist will paint the sense of subject rather than the details. So that means that artist, they are only uses colors. You don't really see whether it's a person or it's a cow or whatsoever, but there's lots of colors there, there's lots of textures there, and it's a beautiful piece of art. When it's a realism, it's that word is coming from reality. That is when the artist paints or draws things as they appear in real life. It's already within the word itself. Please read so that you understand each and every movement. We have got the application of visual arts in craft and advertising. Here you need to understand the difference between craft and also advertising and art. When it's craft, it's when it can be produced in mass productions. When it's advertising, that is when it's a specific poster meant for in the specific event, telling you the specific date when it's happening, how much it is, and. While art have to do with more passion, it's more of a talent, it's more of sending different messages from different viewers, and so on and so on and so on. That's why for advertisement here they argue that advertisements, when it's good, it should be able to attract the attention, it should be able to arouse the interest, it must create the desire, and it must be able to cause the action, meaning that use beautiful colors that can capture somebody on a poster when you're doing advertisement. Use colors, write typographies, write images that must be able to capture somebody's attention. Instead of passing by, they are able to say, oh, wow, what is happening? I see there's something here. Then they must be able to come closer, to arouse the interest, to come closer, and they want to read and get interested in the event that is happening. It must be able to, the technology, the terminologies and images that you use, the message must be able to create that desire for the person to want to be part of whatsoever that is happening, whether it's sales or it's an event or a church service or whatsoever that is happening. So advertising, it's meant to send one message to everybody else. Art, one artwork, different message to different viewers. Craft, that is when it can be produced in mass production. Historical artists, this one just read in your book from this, and then read more on your book to understand more of the historical artist here. In your book, it's have got the old school, that is the art that happened in the 1880s or 1770s, 1880s. Then you have got the post-modern artists, and then until the contemporary artists, and you have got also the movements there. That's why you said you have got Cubism there, Pablo Picasso, you have got Renaissance, and so on. A picture is worth 1,000 words. What does that mean in education? Here, this is not the general meaning of a picture that you talk about generally. This one is specified within education. What does it mean that a picture is worth 1,000 words in education? Already, when you drop your siblings or your children at school, or if you have ever visited a kindergarten or a pre-primary school, you see that once you go in those classes, there's lots of pictures. Big letters, when children are learning the alphabetical orders, when they are learning about counting and numbers, it's big numbers, even associated to specific animals, especially for the letters. If it's an E, it's identified with elephant. If it's a A, it's a different identified with apples. When you children are learning, there's big pictures there, there's big photos. But if you go to grade 4s and 5s and 6s and 7s, you learn that there is very lesser pictures there on the wall, meaning that most of the words that were in pictures in the early grades of primaries and kindergartens now have graduated into the words. As the child is growing, what the story that can be told through pictures have now graduated, it's now been written. Therefore, the comparison comes in like that. That's be able to use pictures when you are teaching children. However, keep in mind that it should be meant for learning purposes. That's when you're using pictures. It must match the theme. It must speak to what you are teaching. Use it. It must be appropriate, age appropriate, and so on and so on. So in every subject, pictures plays a role. Learners will start to read by looking at pictures. In the beginning, the books has only pictures, and the learners must read what the pictures say. You understand that in primary schools and others, it's more of pictures, but now students or learners must read what those pictures means. As the learners get older, the pictures become fewer and the words get more. But the role of the pictures is still very important. Before they read, they look at pictures and they predict what the next will be about. We say pictures are visual stimulants, that they stimulate learning. And then we have got different pictures there. That's the difference between lines and patterns. A line is an element of art, while a pattern is a principle of art. Please read the distinctions, the differences. The color theory, by default on this slide, there are three basic colors, or let's say there are three groups of colors. From the three basic colors, that is red, yellow, and blue. Those are primary colors. You cannot mix any other colors in the world to come up with yellow, or to come up with red, or to come up with blue. However, when you have got yellow, blue, and red, you can mix any other color that you want. If you want orange, which is in the category of the secondary colors, that means the colors that are following. If you mix the two primaries, you just need to put red and yellow together, it gives you orange. It's a secondary color. If you take red and blue, it gives you purple or violet. It's a secondary color. If you mix blue with yellow, it gives you green. It's a secondary color. Again, if you mix those secondary colors with a primary, you get what is called a tertiary color. Now compare it. Look at our education system from primary, secondary, tertiary. Colors graduates the same. From the three basic, primary colors, you mix them, you get a secondary color, you mix some secondary colors, you get a tertiary colors at the level of the learners that you are teaching. That is how far we can go with the colors. However, they don't end there. You mix, you get any other colors, it goes. Involving learners in painting activities. That is, to involve is to make part of. To involve is to make a part of. That how do you make learners be part of a painting activity? That your classroom is most often your class laboratory, unless you are privileged enough to be at a school with separate art classes. That is to say, if you are a teacher, a class teacher, almost all your activities happens in there, in that specific room, unless you have got you may be at a school that have got enough facilities, and each and every class, including that of art, is identified and it's taught from a different area. Otherwise, to involve learners, it means here it's indicated that you need to go through specific 4 steps: a step of preparations, a step of motivation, a step of problem identification, and a step of practice and experimenting or lesson planning. And then you bring now learners to come and execute the work. So when learners are executing, you are evaluating, and you are to execute that is when learners now start doing. But you yourself, you do the preparation, you motivate them, you see where there's a challenge, and anyways they not challenge, then you give them the materials and so on to be part of that. How to develop learners with low self-image, communication, and group skills. So as a teacher, you are always teaching the students. You know which student participates. You know when a student participates only when it's necessary, and you know when a child is just quiet. So you need to be able to identify, and once you identify that this learner actually is mostly quiet, how, when it comes to art, how can you use art now to develop that child's involvement in the art? Sometimes you give them group task, and you gave that specific learner a task, maybe to be a group leader, or to distribute materials, or to correct materials. You give them a task, you need to get somewhere because you want them to talk to some other students, and you give them a specific role so that they can talk, or they can be part of the group. And this is not only for learners, even ourselves, individuals. If you learn that in the house, your children, one is so and so and so, and always victim of situation, make them take a role, make them get involved. In a way, you are awakening a specific character, a specific trait in them. They can be good talkers, good presenters, good activity leaders and facilitators, but if you not give them opportunity, it will not be easier for them also to come out, because maybe by nature they are quiet people. Getting practical, 3 basic types of shapes. Here it's very important. 3 basic type of shapes. Now, some students, you talk of 3 basic shapes, then they will give you the squares, rectangles, and the circles, but they are not necessarily giving the types, that squares, rectangulars, diamonds, what type of shapes are those? Those are geometrical shapes. When it comes to other shapes, like natural or abstract shapes, that's why there are 3 there. There is geometrical, and those circles are just examples. And that's why most students used only these ones, because maybe it's what you are more familiar with, or what you hear most of the time. However, it's important to know that there are geometrical shapes. Those are the ones that are mostly used in mathematics and so on. Then you have the natural, that to do with things from nature. humans, the cows, the trees, and those are organic or natural shapes. And there's also abstract shapes. These are the shapes that you even find when you are going to maybe to the restroom. It's not written female or male there. Sometimes there's just a figure that you yourself, without anybody else interpreting or explaining to you, you already know that this should be the male ones, this should be the female ones. Those are abstract shapes, but they don't have details to show and so on. They're just figures. What do designers use shapes for? That they use shapes for these designers. Who are the designers? Refer to maybe graphic designers, fashion designers, or designers is anybody else who is able to come up with something new from scratch. They design it. So shapes, what do they use it for? To organize the information, to symbolize some ideas, to create moments, to do it, to convey messages, and so on and so on. Please read the difference between the shapes and the meaning of valuation. Now, because we are also running, it's a lot of information and I'm enjoying being a distributor. But because of time, we might not be able to go until the end of the slides, but all the slides are very equally important. So the value of, and there are about 27 there, and the time that we have is not really enough, but anyhow, the value of creative activities such as modeling, creative activity such as modeling. Modeling, this is not modeling of fashion, design, and so on. This is a modeling of working with clay, creating those little mannequins and what value that is that it carries, that it instills discipline, it solves problems. Children are calm because you know how clay can react. You don't rush it. It's something that takes time, and it's time of its own. You don't rush it. There are three types of, there are three ways of involving, and then there must be some activities getting there. This is a box constructing. This is a matter of getting boxes together. Children bring some, you bring some, they sort them out, they construct houses there, and so this activity, they are saying it's fun, and the learners actually enjoy it a lot. How do you involve children? That is just what I mentioned, that you involve them from inviting them or informing them to bring boxes from home. When they bring them, they sort them out, and until you carry out the activity. Preparation for class and also managing a class, that is to say that as a teacher, you always prepare your class and you mind the learners that you are dealing with, the age group. If you just put paint there, they will paint all over their faces. That's why you need to set rules there. You need to prepare and you need to set the rules there. They must have protective gears, and also they must be working on the surfaces that are also protected. Remember, you don't only use that class for arts, you use it for other events as well, or for other lessons. Making pictures, just to say, what do you use to make pictures? This is to do with drawings, it's paintings, it's collage, it's crayons, it's using ink. What can you use to create a picture? This is what is talked about here. Collage is another word for pasting, cutting and pasting. In art, we use collage. You can make pictures by collaging, tearing papers, pasting them with glue while you are creating a specific image. Yes, there are different activities there, and the competences and the grades. Yes, now we are done. You just need to know participation here. This one is very important. Participation, already the word itself, what does it mean for young children? To participate means that for participation to happen, there must be a group task there. And the children who are working on that are participants in that. So how do you deal with that? how do you make each and every child be participating positively and also making an impact that is appreciated on others. So it's a theme, first theme of art, and that means that it has competences. Okay, thank you very much for your time. I hope you will find this presentations useful, and also do not hesitate. If there's something that you don't understand, do not hesitate to contact me. I will be at your service. That is why I'm here for. Thank you very much, and good luck with your 2022 studies. Thank you.